Captain Alex Mercer's shuttle broke through the purple clouds of Zertha Prime, shaking lightly as it descended toward the planet. He had seen countless worlds before, but something about this one felt different. The scans showed life, but not just scattered plants or small creatures. There was intelligence, civilization, and a strange energy he could feel through the cabin walls. As the shuttle touched the ground, the ramp lowered, and Alex stepped onto the soft, violet sand. The air smelled faintly sweet with a metallic tang. It was breathable, yes, but it carried the scent of something ancient, something that had waited a long time. Alex's heart beat faster. He had come as an explorer, but he felt more like an intruder stepping into a story that had been waiting to be told for over a century. Ahead, the city rose in shimmering towers of crystal and light. Their spires curved elegantly, reflecting the twin suns above. It looked alive, almost as if it were breathing. Alex marveled at the beauty, feeling a strange mix of awe and fear. He knew he was the first human ever to set foot here, but he didn't know why. Movement caught his eye. Figures emerged from the towers, gliding gracefully over the sand. They were tall, taller than any human, with slender forms and smooth, glowing skin. Their eyes shone like polished gemstones, wide and intelligent, full of curiosity, and something else Alex couldn't name. One woman stepped forward. Her hair was silver, flowing like liquid under the sunlight, and her gaze held a strange intensity. "You are here," she said softly, her voice musical and calming yet commanding. Alex swallowed, trying to find words. I am Captain Alex Mercer of the United Earth Alliance. I come in peace." She tilted her head, studying him with a careful look. "Peace, yes. But you are also the first in many generations," Alex frowned. "I don't understand." Her eyes softened, filled with both sadness and hope. 105 years, she said. 105 years without a male. Our males vanished, and we survived alone. We endured. We waited. Alex's breath caught. He had expected aliens, but he had not expected this. A society shaped by absence, by longing, by a deep emptiness that stretched across a century. He realized the weight of his presence. To them, he was not just a visitor. He was history, the first hope in over 100 years. The woman, who introduced herself as Alara, led him into the city. Their streets glowed softly, lined with plants that shimmered under their twin suns. Alex noticed the way other women watched him, eyes lingering with interest, curiosity, and something deeper. He could feel the tension, subtle yet electric, as if their gazes carried centuries of unspoken emotion. Alex tried to focus on the science, the culture, the diplomacy, but he could not ignore the feeling that something was stirring within the women. It was not hostility but anticipation, something primal yet refined. He had no idea how to react, only that he felt important in a way he had never known. At night he lay in his quarters, staring at the stars. The city lights faded beneath the twin moons, and silence enveloped him. He thought about what Alara had said, on her 5 years waiting. He thought about the energy he felt, the subtle tension, the way they looked at him. It frightened him, excited him, and filled him with a strange sense of responsibility. He realized that his journey to Zertha Prime was no longer about exploration alone. It was about connection, about history, and about understanding a world that had waited longer than he could comprehend. He had arrived as an observer, but he was about to become so much more. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that when the time came, he could never walk away. The next morning, Alex woke to the soft glow of Zertha Prime's twin suns. The city hummed with life, and he could hear faint music drifting from the streets below. Alara appeared at his door, her silver hair catching the light. "Are you ready?" she asked, her eyes calm but bright with something he could not yet name. Alex nodded, adjusting his jacket. "I think so. I want to learn to understand," she smiled gently. "Then let us begin." Alara guided him through the city, showing him gardens filled with glowing flowers and trees that shimmered like glass. The women he passed looked at him with intensity, some curious, some cautious, but all aware of his presence. Alex felt their attention like a weight pressing softly against him, unfamiliar and thrilling at the same time. "They are not used to male presence," Alara explained as they walked. "They have survived, thrived, and led for more than a century without one. But your arrival, it awakens feelings long hidden." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine. Feelings? Yes, she said. Longing, curiosity, desire. A need to connect that has slept for generations. He tried to focus on the science, their technology, their society, but he could not ignore the subtle energy around him. It was as if the air itself had changed. The women moved differently in his presence, voices softer, movements more fluid. Every glance he caught carried unspoken questions, unspoken hopes. That evening, Alex was invited to share a meal in one of the city's floating gardens. The table floated above a sparkling river of violet water, and the women sat around him, laughter soft and warm. He realized he was not just a guest, he was the center of attention, the first male their society had seen in more than a century. You must understand, Ilara said, pouring a glowing drink into his cup. We do not act like this lightly. For 105 years we have endured without a male. We built our world on patience, discipline, and survival. And now, you are here. Alex sipped the drink, feeling warmth spread through him. I don't know how to respond. I never expected. Ilara placed a hand gently on his arm. You need not respond with words. Just feel and let us guide you. He realized she was right. Words could not describe the weight of history pressing down on him. The longing in their eyes. The emotions that surged through the air like electricity. These women had waited, dreamed, and survived for generations. And now he was here, present, real, alive. Over the next few days, Alex learned their ways, their language, and their culture. He walked among them in the gardens, explored the crystalline towers, and observed their rituals of art, science, and governance. Everywhere he went, the women watched him, studied him, and sometimes touched him lightly, on the shoulder, on the hand, a fleeting brush that sent shivers down his spine. He began to understand that their interest was not just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, and deeply historical. They had lived without male influence for over a century, and now every instinct, every hidden longing, surged to life in his presence. Late one night, Alex found himself standing with Ilara on a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons reflected in the violet sands below, and the air shimmered with a gentle energy. Do you feel it? She asked softly. Alex nodded. Yes, it's overwhelming. I've never felt anything like it, she smiled, her eyes luminous. It is the awakening of a century's hope. You are not just a visitor, Alex. You are the first thread in a story that has waited 105 years to be told. Alex exhaled slowly, realizing the truth. He had arrived to explore, to observe, to learn. But now he understood he had become something more. Something powerful. Something the women had waited for longer than anyone could remember. And deep inside, Alex felt the stirring of something he had never known. The responsibility, and the honor, of being the first human male in 105 years to step into their world. Days on Zertha Prime passed like a dream for Alex Mercer. Every moment felt heavier with meaning, every glance from the women carrying centuries of silent longing. He had learned their language, their customs, and their history, but understanding did not make the energy any easier to bear. It was alive, tangible, and overwhelming. Alex noticed it first in the little things. A hand lingering on his shoulder for just a moment longer than necessary. A soft whisper when he entered a room, a smile that seemed to reach into the depths of his mind. At first, he tried to dismiss it as curiosity, but he could feel the pull, something primal, something that had slept for 105 years, now waking with force. Ilara noticed his unease. It is natural to feel overwhelmed, she said one evening as they walked along a bridge of glowing crystal. You are not just a man here. You are a symbol, a living reminder of what has been missing. And with that comes power and responsibility. Alex swallowed hard. I never asked for this. I'm just an explorer. I came to learn, to see, not to become part of something so intense. Ilara reached out, brushing a strand of his hair back. Intensity is life, Alex. You feel it because it is real. For generations, we adapted to survive without men. But we did not forget what it means to connect, to desire, to share. And now, you are here. That night, the energy in the city seemed to thrum even louder. The women moved with grace and purpose, their eyes following him as he walked through the streets. He felt their attention like a force pressing in on him from all sides, and he realized how fragile yet powerful their society had become in his absence. They had survived, yes, but now they were alive in ways they had forgotten. Alex found himself in the floating gardens again, where the light of the twin moons reflected in the violet waters below. Women surrounded him, speaking softly, laughing lightly, brushing past him in ways that made his heart race. He could feel the pull of their presence, the centuries of longing and endurance that had built to this moment. Alara joined him, her gaze soft yet unwavering. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The awakening?" Alex nodded slowly. "Yes, it's like the air itself is alive. I've never felt anything like this before," she smiled. "We have waited too long, Alex. For 105 years we have carried the absence of your kind. And now that you are here, every instinct, every feeling, every hidden desire, it has risen. We are alive because you are here." He realized the truth in her words. The women were not just curious or playful. They were raw, honest, and untamed in ways that could not be measured by human standards. Their longing was not reckless. It was refined, honed by centuries of survival, intelligence, and patience. Yet it burned like fire, impossible to ignore. Alex's mind raced. He had trained for diplomacy, for science, for exploration, but nothing had prepared him for this. For the way centuries of longing could converge on one man, for the way he could feel their history, their pain, and their hope all at once in every look, every movement, every touch. Alara placed her hand on his chest. "You do not need to act, Alex. You do not need to decide yet. But know this, your presence has changed everything. What was dormant has awakened. What was patient has become urgent. And what was lonely has found life again." Alex closed his eyes, letting the sensation wash over him. He could feel the truth of her words. Not just the desire, but the history, the endurance, the strength that had kept these women alive for over a century. He was no longer just an observer. He was a part of their story, a living reminder that life and hope persisted even against impossible odds. And in that moment, Alex realized that he could never be the same again. Zertha Prime had changed him, awakened something inside him he had not known existed, and the journey ahead was no longer about exploration. It was about connection, survival, and the awakening of a world that had waited too long. As the days passed, Alex Mercer felt the weight of his presence on Zertha Prime growing heavier. Every glance, every touch, every word he spoke carried a resonance far beyond his understanding. The women of the city were intelligent, disciplined, and fierce, but now, with a male among them after 105 years, a new tension had entered their world. Not all of the women welcomed him with gentle curiosity. Some were impatient, almost aggressive. Their desires bursting to the surface like dormant volcanoes awakened. They approached him openly, their eyes bright with longing, voices soft yet urgent. Alex felt both fascination and fear. He had expected curiosity, perhaps admiration, but this raw energy was overwhelming, almost suffocating at times. Alara noticed his unease and guided him to a quiet terrace overlooking the violet plains. "You must understand," she said softly, her hand resting on his arm. "We have survived without males for a century. Our society is strong, but your presence awakens instincts that were suppressed for generations. Some are ready to embrace it, others struggle to contain it." Alex nodded, trying to steady his racing heart. "I didn't come to disrupt anything," he said. I don't know how to handle all this attention." "It's too much," Alara smiled gently. "It is natural to feel this way, but remember, you are not just a visitor. You are a bridge. And bridges must bear weight." The tension escalated during the Council of Elders, a group of the most respected women in the city. They gathered in a circular hall of glowing crystal, their eyes studying Alex like a living question. "Can one human male truly exist among us without bringing chaos?" one of the elders asked, her voice steady but wary. Alex felt the weight of history pressing on him. He wanted to reassure them, to show respect, but the words felt inadequate. "I do not want to control, to command, or to disrupt. I came to understand, to learn, and to connect, not to dominate." The elders murmured among themselves, torn between caution and the undeniable pull of centuries-long longing. Outside the council, whispers spread through the city. Some women saw him as hope, the key to finally completing a circle of life that had been broken. Others feared he might upset the delicate balance they had maintained for generations. Alex realized that his presence was more than biological. It was historical, emotional, and societal. He was a symbol of something greater, a living reminder of what had been missing for over a century. And with that realization came a heavy responsibility. Every step he took, every word he spoke, every gesture he made could alter the course of their society forever. He began to understand the complexity of desire and duty. The women's attention was intense, but it was not reckless. They were strong, intelligent, and careful, but their instincts had been sharpened by isolation and centuries of waiting. Their longing was patient, refined, and purposeful, and now that it had been awakened, it could not be ignored. Alara placed her hand on his shoulder, her gaze firm but kind. "Do not fear what you feel, Alex. Fear will only make it harder. Accept the reality. Your presence changes everything. And in change there is both challenge and opportunity." That night Alex walked through the glowing streets, feeling the tension pulse around him like a living thing. He could see the struggle in their eyes, the pull between control and surrender, patience and desire. It was intoxicating, overwhelming, and beautiful all at once. He realized that he could not run from this. He could not hide or deny the effect he had on this society. For the first time, he understood that being human was more than just exploration or survival. It was connection, presence, and understanding the consequences of being alive among others. And as he stood under the twin moons, the violet sands shimmering below, Alex made a silent promise. He would honor their trust, respect their history, and navigate the delicate balance between desire and duty, because Zertha Prime had waited 105 years for a male, and he would not betray that trust. The festival of renewal had arrived. For over a century, the women of Zertha Prime had celebrated survival, strength, and life, but this year everything felt different. Alex Mercer, the first male in 105 years, stood at the center of it all. The twin moons cast silver light across the violet sands, and the city shimmered like a living jewel. Women gathered from every corner, their eyes bright with excitement, curiosity, and desire. They moved with grace, their forms weaving through the crowds, their voices rising in song and laughter. Alex felt the energy around him like a living tide, pressing against him, drawing him in. It was beautiful, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. Alara appeared beside him, her silver hair glowing softly. "Tonight is special," she whispered. "Tonight we celebrate not just survival, but the arrival of hope. You must understand, Alex. This is not just a festival. It is the awakening of a century's longing." Alex swallowed hard, trying to steady the racing of his heart. He had never imagined being the focus of so much attention, never imagined the weight of history and emotion pressing down on him at once. I don't know if I can handle this," he admitted quietly. Alara placed her hand on his arm, gentle but firm. "You do not need to control it. You only need to be present. Be yourself, and we will guide you." As the music swelled, women approached him with open smiles, laughing softly, touching his hand, brushing past him with subtle yet deliberate gestures. Every interaction sent shivers down his spine, awakening feelings he had never known. For 105 years, these women had endured without male presence, and now, the energy that had been suppressed for generations surged around him like wildfire. One by one, they circled him, voices rising in harmonious song, bodies moving in fluid dance. Alex felt dizzy, overwhelmed yet mesmerized. He saw the history in their eyes, the pain, the patience, the hope that had kept them alive. And he understood that he was not just a participant in this festival. He was the symbol of all they had endured, the living bridge between the past and the future. Alara stepped closer, her eyes locking with his. "Do you feel it?" she asked softly. "Every heartbeat, every glance, every gesture. This is the power of connection. This is life asserting itself after a century of waiting." Alex nodded, overwhelmed by emotion. He realized that this moment was bigger than him, bigger than anything he had ever experienced. He was not here to dominate or command. He was here to witness, to honor, and to share in something far greater than himself. The crowd surged closer, their energy almost tangible, their voices blending into a single force of life and longing. Alex could feel the pull of centuries pressing into him, a tide of desire and hope that was impossible to resist. And yet, amidst the intensity, there was a tenderness, a respect, and a deep intelligence in every glance and touch. He took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment. He could feel the awakening within himself, the stirring of emotions, instincts, and connection that had been dormant in his life. It was overwhelming but not frightening. It was alive, pure, and honest. Opening his eyes, Alex smiled, meeting Alara's gaze. "I understand," he said softly. "I feel it. I am here, and I will honor this." She smiled back, and for a brief moment the world seemed to pause. The music, the dance, the city, all of it was a living, breathing testament to survival, hope, and the undeniable power of life. For the first time in over a century, Zertha Prime felt complete, alive in ways it had never known. And in the center of it all, Alex Mercer stood, not just a human male, but a symbol of hope, connection, and the awakening of a world that had waited 105 years for him. Days after the Festival of Renewal, Zertha Prime felt different to Alex Mercer. The air itself seemed lighter, charged with warmth and life. The women's energy had shifted, from restless longing to something gentler, more harmonious. They had tested him, awakened instincts and desires, and now the world seemed to breathe with calm acceptance. Ilara led Alex through the city one morning. The twin suns reflected off the crystalline towers, bathing the streets in soft, glowing light. Children played in the violet fields, laughter echoing like music. Alex felt a profound sense of peace. The tension, the overwhelming intensity of the past days had softened. "You have learned to navigate our society," Ilara said softly, her hand brushing against his. "And they have learned to accept you, not just as a male, but as part of us." Alex smiled faintly. "I didn't come to be a part of this world. I came to explore, to understand, but now I feel like I belong." Ilara's eyes shone. "Belonging is not given, it is earned. And you have earned it. You have shown respect, patience, and courage, and we have learned to trust you." They walked through the floating gardens, the soft glow of bioluminescent plants illuminating the path. Women passed by, offering warm smiles, subtle touches, and soft words. It was no longer overwhelming. It was inviting, comforting, and alive with genuine connection. Alex could feel the centuries of waiting, the strength and the patience that had carried these women through 100 years without a male. And now he was here, not to dominate, not to take, but to honor what they had built. That night he stood with Ilara on a balcony, gazing at the twin moons reflecting off the violet sands below. "Do you see?" she asked softly. "This is what we can be now. Not just strong, not just survivors, but whole." Alex nodded, feeling the truth in her words. He understood that humanity, his humanity, was not just survival or strength. It was connection, presence, empathy, and respect. He had come as an outsider, an observer, but now he was part of their story, part of their lives, and part of their future. Ilara leaned closer. "You see, Alex, we are not weak for waiting. We are strong because we endured. And now we can share what we have built, with you and with each other." Alex felt a warmth he had never known. The women of Zertha Prime were no longer strangers, no longer figures of overwhelming desire. They were individuals, each with their own stories, pain, and strength. They had survived centuries of absence, and now they had found a way to live fully, together with him. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history lighten. For 105 years they had carried a void. Now the void was being filled, not with chaos, not with fear, but with life, laughter, and love. Ilara smiled, resting her hand on his. "We have waited for this moment for longer than we can remember. And now, it is here. You do not need to be afraid, Alex. You are part of us, and we are part of you." Alex looked out at the city, the gardens, the children, and the women. He realized that he had changed as much as they had. He had learned patience, understanding, and the true meaning of presence. He was not just an explorer of worlds, he was a witness to survival, hope, and connection. As the twin moons shone down, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Zertha Prime had taught him something no planet or civilization ever could. That life, in all its forms, thrives when it is shared, when it is respected, and when it is embraced with honesty and heart. And in that moment, Alex Mercer knew one thing for certain. He had found a place where years had passed since Alex Mercer first stepped onto Zertha Prime. The violet plains now echoed with laughter, the soft cries of infants and the songs of a society reborn. Children, half human, half Zerthan, ran through the glowing fields, their eyes wide with wonder, chasing floating lights above the bioluminescent grass. The city shimmered like a living jewel, full of energy, life, and harmony. Alex walked beside Ilara, holding her hand as they watched the children play. She had grown into a leader of unmatched wisdom, her silver hair streaked with hints of the years they had shared. Together they had guided their society through uncharted territory, teaching, learning, loving, and protecting. Alex's presence had not disrupted the Zerthan way of life. It had enriched it, bringing balance, connection, and humanity to a world that had waited over a century for just one man. "You see them?" Ilara asked softly, squeezing his hand. "All of this. It is because of patience, endurance, and hope. And because of you." Alex shook his head, smiling gently. "No, this is because of you. You survived 105 years without males. You built everything with strength, wisdom, and courage. I only reminded you of what you were capable of. You already were complete." Ilara's eyes glimmered, full of warmth and emotion. "You are part of us now, Alex, and we are part of you. That is the truth of it." For the first time in his life, Alex felt fully understood, fully accepted, and fully alive. He had come to Zertha Prime as an explorer, a visitor from a distant planet expecting nothing more than curiosity and knowledge. Instead, he had found connection, purpose, and a place to belong. He had become more than human. He had become a symbol of hope, a bridge between the past and the future, a living testament to what humanity could offer. The city had changed too. The women, once cautious and full of centuries of longing, now moved with freedom and joy. They laughed, sang, and danced, no longer constrained by absence but empowered by choice. Alex realized that his presence had not taken from them. It had given them the chance to embrace life fully, to rediscover emotions and desires they had kept hidden for more than a century. One evening, Alex and Ilara stood on a balcony overlooking the violet fields, the twin moons reflecting their light on the city below. Children's laughter echoed in the distance, and the soft hum of life filled the air. "Do you ever think about Earth?" Ilara asked, her voice gentle. Alex smiled. "Sometimes, but I belong here now. This world, these people, they are my home. And I think humanity is stronger when it connects, when it is present, and when it cares. I've learned that lesson here in ways I could never have imagined." Ilara leaned her head on his shoulder. "You have given us more than we could have hoped for. You showed us that one human male, one human heart, can remind a whole civilization of what it means to be alive." Alex looked out at the glowing city, the laughing children, and the thriving society, feeling a profound sense of gratitude. He realized that HFY, humanity, was not just about strength, survival, or intelligence. It was about presence, empathy, connection, and the courage to face history and hope simultaneously. And as the twin moons cast their silver light over the violet sands, Alex Mercer knew that the legacy of his arrival would endure for generations. Zertha Prime had waited 105 years for a male, and in him they had found not just hope, but life, love, and humanity reborn. He squeezed Ilara's hand gently, smiling. "We did it," he whispered. Ilara smiled back, her eyes shining. "No, Alex, you didn't do it alone. We all did it together, and now, we will continue for our children and for the centuries to come." Above them, the city glimmered, alive with laughter, light, and the unshakable truth that life persists, hope endures, and humanity, when it touches a world in need, can change everything. The end.